Welcome to the Energetically You podcast, where we will be talking about healthy habits, abundant mindset, and optimal wellness. I'm your host, Megan Swan, creator of the Sustainable Integrated Wellness Approach. At 30, I sold everything and went on my own eat, pray, love journey, if you will. And now, at 41, I'm still on my first stop here in Mexico, loving life and feeling more energy than ever before. This podcast is for ambitious women who are looking to level up their energy so that they feel happier and more productive throughout their day in all of their projects and passions. Inside, we are going to be talking about ways to truly tune in to our minds and bodies in new ways to leverage our natural energy sources. So let's dive in. Welcome back. I'm Megan Swan, a mindset and wellness coach specializing in plant-based living, detoxification, stress management, yoga, meditation, and all things wellness. So welcome. Today, I wanted to give you 5 things you need to cultivate total wellness. I was recently asked in an interview to break it down in terms of spiritual wellness, mental wellness, physical wellness, and emotional wellness. And I will be giving you 5 things to consider that really help you cultivate all 4 of those aspects of total wellness. So, number 1, I think it's kind of underrated, but really pivotal is your sleep cycle. When you start to honor your sleep cycle, it can be life-changing. And I think for most mothers out there, when they don't get to a place similar to where they were pre-children in their sleep cycle, it can be really detrimental to their mental health, their mental wellness, and it just kind of spirals because it is a cycle and it affects so many other things throughout your day, the decisions you make, the food choices that you make, whether or not you're motivated to exercise, whether or not you're motivated to do all the other self-care things you may or may not know you should be doing. And most importantly, I think, is our sleep is, like I said, underrated. We do all of our sorting of memory, meaning our system decides, usually through a dream process, or at least that's one theory, whether or not things that happened to us that day need to be stored in short-term memory, long-term memory, or just forgotten about. And it also is the time of day that your system is doing the deeper levels of healing. So, as simple as if you have a cut on your finger, that's when it's being healed at night when you're in rest and restore mode. But also on a more profound level, if your system is fighting off any sort of sickness or potential chronic disease is bubbling up because of consistent low-level inflammation based on many things, the stress in your life, what you're consuming in terms of your diet, how much alcohol you're consuming, why are you smoking, all these things, other toxins in your environment, etc. So sleep, can you do to get it on a whole other level? Well, I suggest you try getting up at the same time every day, even if that means for you that you're getting up much earlier than you used to on the weekends. When we oscillate between this, like 6 a.m. wake up Monday to Friday, and then we allow ourselves to sleep into 10 a.m. on the weekend, I know most parents aren't doing that. That's not an option. But even an hour later, you're kind of screwing up your system. It's confused about what is the best time to get up. And everything else in the system is confused as well. So once you get on this solid waking up at the same time every day mode, You don't need an alarm to wake up, and you get a more restful sleep. Obviously, this usually means that the time you start going to bed becomes much more consistent as well, because you'll get much more, I won't say much more tired, but it'll be much more clear when you should be going to bed after you've been getting up the same time every day for a couple weeks. So that's number one, honoring your sleep cycle. Start by getting up at the same time every day. Number two, eat more plants. Doesn't matter what else you're eating, add in more fruits and vegetables. This can be as simple as a handful of strawberries with breakfast, half a banana on the way out the door, adding a salad at lunch, sliced cucumber and carrots. Having all of these things available, disinfected, ready, washed to eat, looking amazing, like a rainbow of nutrients in your kitchen, a bowl of fruit in your fridge, you open it, everything's there. That's not hidden in the back drawers where no one can see them and they start to rot because people forget that the apples are there, or the cucumbers there, or the carrots are there. So keep them fresh. There's lots of things that last a lot longer, like radishes, carrots, even beets. All these things you can keep in a little water in a glass container in the fridge, and they last at least double the time, and they don't go soft on you. They maintain their crunch. So just add in a few more fruits and veggies every day. Try and get 5 fruits and veggies minimum in your day every day. Number 3, some sort of mindful practice is essential to your mental wellness. Now, what does that even mean? Well, it can mean a lot of things, and a lot of people are already doing it and they don't know it, and because they wouldn't define it that way. But I'll give you an example of my grandfather who passed away many years ago, but he would have defined, going for a canoe on the lake, or probably even, his work around the cabin. That was like a spiritual practice in a sense, a mindful practice for him, in that it allowed him to be present in what he was doing and not focus on other stressors or world events or things that might be crossing his mind, right? So for you, that might look like, the all trendy meditation or breathing exercises. But it could be as simple as being a little bit more conscious around an activity that you're already doing. For example, maybe you, like drinking a coffee or a tea every morning and reading the paper. Well, you can do that. And then maybe you just, for 2 minutes, you stare out the window and you notice the trees. Like you watch the trees blow in the wind, or you watch clouds change, or you're watching a sunrise, or you're watching a little bird do its thing. It maybe sounds silly, but these mindful being, it brings us into the moment in a way that we're not accustomed to anymore. Naturally, we are in a digital headspace in terms of it being on a screen, but also in terms of velocity. We are just like on overdrive all the time. We have so many things coming at us at one time that it has become really overwhelming. And so even if it's just for 2 minutes a day, you're dropping into that present moment and just really soaking it all in, all of your senses working to be present in that moment can be life-changing. 2 minutes a day, do it. Number 4, a clear strategy for stress management. So what I just talked about, all those things, sleep, eating more plants, and mindful practice, also contribute to a strategy for stress management. But I would argue like having something else as well. So for me, a morning 20-minute run every morning, just like pounding it out and getting my blood flowing, sweating it out. That for me is transformative. It sets the tone for my day, gets my cortisol, the stress hormone, moving and out of my system. It allows me to process the tension instead of having it build up and be stagnant in my system. And so you need some sort of, I would argue that movement is a really good source of your strategy for stress management. But it could be a breathing exercise. It could be meditation. It could be journaling. It could be having a solid time that you talk to a family member every day, just when you vent, so that you're moving the tension out of your system in that sense. Number 5, last one, I wanted to touch on gut health, because when it comes to mental wellness, we don't think so much of the food, and I think it's really important. So specifically in the gut health category, when we tend to have leaky gut, or we have indigestion, or we have problems digesting certain foods, oftentimes it's because we've been eating so many processed foods or highly acidic foods like dairy, red meat, what else? Caffeine. All these things make the lining of our gut wall sort of more porous, and then the bigger toxins tend to get through our system and start wreaking havoc on the internal system. And so pre and probiotics. Prebiotics are the food that your healthy bacteria that are already in your gut like to eat, such as leeks, onions, garlic, oats, apples, bananas. Just eat more of those. Nice, all amazing plant-based, gluten-free options there. Then the probiotic. You might be taking a probiotic. That's not a bad thing, but you would be better off to incorporate live fermented foods such as coconut kefir or sauerkraut, some homemade pickles, miso, kimchi. All of these things are like fermented kombucha. So I leave you with that. Those 5 things to consider when you're cultivating total mental wellness in terms of the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, and what am I forgetting? Emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. That's why I'm confused. I started with mental. Leave it to me. So number 1, sleep. Number 2, eat more plants. Number 3, mindful practice. Number 4, clear strategy for stress management. And number 5, gut health, the pre and the probiotics, so that you feel more supported from the inside out. I leave you with that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for listening to Energetically You. I hope that this episode has helped you to tune into your natural energy sources so that you feel more energized and focused throughout your day. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to help more ambitious women just like you accomplish their goals. Don't forget to take a screenshot, share it on social, or in your Instagram stories, and tag me at Megan Swan Wellness. See you soon.